Shabbat Shalom. Lichvod Harav, I appreciate very much the opportunity that Rabbi Dallin so graciously offered me to share some Torah thoughts with you today. And it is especially fun and meaningful for me that we are here today in the Bernstein Chapel. I can remember clearly being in this sacred room with my parents and brothers when my family moved here 59 years ago this summer. So many Friday nights and Saturday nights, hundreds of kiddushes and havdalahs, when my brothers and I would walk down to this very bima to join with our father, Cantor Rube of blessed memory, and he was wearing this tallis. What a bracha. I also want to thank Rabbi Daniel Klein, with whom I was able to percolate some of these ideas. There are times in our amazing Jewish calendar when it is eerily in sync with reality. A week from tonight will begin the 17th of Tammuz. The 17th of Tammuz is an important and painful day in Jewish time. According to the Mishnah, it is the day of 5 terrible and tragic occurrences. Moses shattered the tablets when he came down from Mount Sinai to find the Israelites dancing around the golden calf. Later, there was a public burning of Torah scrolls. At a different time, an idol was set up in the temple sanctuary. The daily communal offerings at the temple ceased. And it was the day when the Romans breached the walls of Jerusalem in 70 CE on their way to destroying the city and the temple. Ritually, the 17th of Tammuz begins Bein Hamtzarim, the 3 weeks of mourning, culminating in the 9th of Av, when God decreed that the Israelites who left Egypt would die in the wilderness because of their lack of faith, the day that both the first and second temples were destroyed, and on which many other tragic events occurred throughout the centuries. This time period invites us to confront the reality that there are forces both within and beyond us that are uncontrollable. They disrupt or destroy the people that we long to be and the world that we long to inhabit. It is a time to acknowledge that we live in a broken world in which God might sometimes seem to be unavailable and where calamitous, ruinous events happen. However, these days, one could argue that our annual ritualized encounter with this aspect of our world and the human condition could feel almost absurd. On today, day 638 of what has become an 8-front war for Israel, alongside the barely, if at all, concealed anti-Semitism shamelessly permeating Western culture, along with other persistent challenges, do we really need ancient events from our past to remind us that we're in a broken world? Now is the time, before the 3 weeks begin, to remind ourselves and each other that the purpose of this ritual is not to overwhelm us and not to further break our spirits. The purpose is to mediate the encounter with the brokenness that we have experienced and are experiencing so that we can accept it and move forward. We see a precedent of this response in the story that began it all, that we read 2 weeks ago. Bnei Yisrael are understandably distraught to learn that they will die off in the desert and not enter the land of Israel as a result of their faithlessness. One can only imagine the pain, the despair that they were feeling, their future having suddenly taken a heartbreaking turn. But in the very next chapter, the Torah states, God spoke to Moses saying, "Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, when you enter the land that I am giving you to settle," and it goes on. Bnei Yisrael have literally just been told that they would not enter the land. How can God then tell them about the time when they will? Faced with a confirmed and disastrous reality, the Torah seems to be teaching the people and us, their descendants, 33 centuries later, that the story is not over. The story is never over. The Israelites in the desert might assume this is their end, but God implicitly tells them, do not give up hope. There are future generations. Your job, your responsibility is to get the children successfully into the land. The Israelites must act as if, they must act so that getting their children into Israel is what will happen. Such resilience requires them to accept what has happened, not reject it, not rebel against it, and not resent it. They must forgive their own brokenness and the brokenness of the world they now inhabit so they can have faith in a better future and to create that better future. Of course, this is no easy feat. For most of us, being able to forgive and accept and move forward, it's not so easy, and it's not natural. It is a skill that needs to be repeated and practiced over and over again. And that is why the rabbis established these upcoming 3 weeks of annual mourning, to help us to get used to facing, accepting, and forgiving this aspect of our existence. After all, think of the amazement, the comfort, the nachas it would bring to our ancestors to know that in spite of the seeming finality and sorrow of their defeat, that their descendants would have the self-confidence and the ability to pull off an Operation Grim Beeper, or to fly thousands of kilometers to achieve miraculous preemptive strikes against another enemy bent on our destruction. Some have suggested that this might be one reason we wear tzitzit specifically on the corners of our garments. It is specifically at the corners, at the fraying edges of our lives, where we place this reminder of how we are tied up with God, that we always have the capacity to see and be seen by God, even at the fringes of our individual and national lives. Yes, there is so much happening in Israel, here, and the world that reveals the brokenness we contain and that we inhabit in the world. But with the tools of Tammuz and Av, we can mindfully encounter and learn how to mediate this brokenness. We face it head on so that we can live with and overcome it. I want to close with a beautiful kavanah, a heartfelt request for a tikkun, a correction or repair, written recently by Rabbi Dahlia Marks, specifically to help us to make the most of the tragedies of Tammuz. She writes, "May the tablets of life that were broken be held in gentle hands. May the daily routine that was interrupted be guarded in beloved compartments of our souls. May new life burst forth from within the walls that were breached. May the sanctity that burned in flames light our ways from above. May hollow idols give way to authentic honor and values. May what befell our ancestors then and what is happening to us recently find tikkun in our own chosen paths. And let us say, Amen."